Welcome back to the It's Hard to Explain podcast. This is part 2 of our conspiracy theory episodes, and we're back at it again with our 6 other theories.
Yeah.
How we doing?
We're doing good.
Still doing good.
We're recording it
Right after.
Yeah. We cut the
We
last
took
one.
a minor lunch break.
Still
Yeah.
doing good.
It was long. We took a break to smash some snacks, get something to drink, crack a few jokes, and then sit back down.
Playing footsies with
Yeah,
Keg
so
and-
we're ready to get back into it and finish this bitch out.
Yurt.
Ready
Yep.
for another hot, steamy load of knowledge dripping down your neck and chest.
Yeah.
All for you.
I feel like we each have some very interesting conspiracy theories, but we're gonna delve deeper into what the rest of us got, because me and Adam only have 2 left, and Jake and Ethan still have.
No, you and me only have 1 left. And
Yeah,
two.
yeah.
Ethan and I have 2 left, and you, Adam, and Kagan have 1 left.
One.
I will skin you.
I'm going to start out with a couple of honorable mentions because they're like one-sentence theories.
Go for it.
Yeah. So first one is plateaus are ancient tree stumps. Have you ever heard of this?
Plateaus.
I
Ancient
love
tree
that.
stumps. And we were talking about giants last episode. We didn't go into a theory about giants, but this lends itself to that kind of theory.
Yeah, they're
That
like
sounds
the trees of Pandora.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
so
like
they're-
petrified tree stumps.
I was gonna say, yeah. So they're just sold. They're petrified to stone. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Pandora.
Like that's what?
From Avatar?
Oh,
No, he said it was like Pandora.
Yeah.
like the trees there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Sorry, I could have clarified more.
Yeah. I thought this one was pretty cool though. It was
Yeah.
just like a little
That
side
one
thing
is-
that I wanted to mention.
That's a very interesting idea.
Yeah.
Would they be like chode trees, or would they be fucking?
Humongous.
Humongous.
Into the
Like
stratosphere.
No, it'd be bigger than the Earth.
My question is, who cut them down though? Like, because they're if they're smooth like that, who cut
The
them
alien interdimensional shapeshifters that molest children did.
down? So politicians.
Yeah. These people are demons.
There's another conspiracy theory, just an honorable mention. Like those 1-sentence conspiracy theories make me think of the 2-sentence horror stories.
Yeah, it's kind of the
I
same thing.
love those.
I went upstairs to my bathroom. There was a face in the mirror. It wasn't mine.
One of my favorites is I can hear sounds from 1 year in the future. Today the noise stopped.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good
that's
one.
terrifying.
That's a good
Ooh.
one. I like that one.
Jake?
I was gonna
Any more
say,
honorable mentions?
No, I'm not really feeling it right now. Like, I'll move it on to Ethan.
That's fair.
Yeah.
those 2-sentence horror stories aren't really stories. They're more just statements. 2-minute horror statement. Two
Well, I'd still
sentence
say
horror
it's a
statements.
theory.
Yeah.
Well, I said stories. Those 2-sentence horror stories.
Oh.
Yeah, they're more
I thought
just
you were talking about
they're
Jack.
more just
Sorry.
2-sentence horror statements than anything.
Yeah. I mean, they tell the whole horror story in 2 sentences. That's the whole...
Those are
Yeah.
pretty good.
It is kind of a cheat. I hate it when people do, 2 run-on sentence horror stories where they just, do a paragraph in 2 sentences. They just don't add punctuation. It's like, no. It's
That's
supposed to
a
be
run-on,
2
dude.
simple
Yeah.
sentences that convey horror.
Before we go on to Ethan's theory, one of his bigger theories, though, have you guys not... Surely you've heard about the pyramid theories,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And how
Oh,
they
yeah.
were made.
The pyramids,
Interesting thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like the whole, they're coordinates on the Earth line. They're exact to the
They're
speed
perfect,
of light.
Like Orion's belt and all that,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, and it's which
Which is really hard to do, especially back then.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, these stones were coming from quarries miles and miles and miles away.
Yeah.
So
and the fact that there's 3 of them, hear me out, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Have you seen? I've seen these little videos showing they maybe use a river and they tied these floats to them and pushed them down the river. I've seen one where they had these molds and they filled them with this primitive concrete solution.
Yeah.
And that's how they did it. So they built it just on site. One thing I heard is that the slaves weren't actually slaves; they were just hired work, and they weren't actually.
I've heard that the pyramids were actually built by respectable workers. And
Yeah,
they
not
actually have a tomb
slaves.
right next to the pyramids because
Yeah.
they were respected.
Which I think both of the ones I just told, I feel like those could be plausible because we don't give. I mean, we give ancient civilizations credit, but I feel like we don't give them enough credit. They're have
The
you seen
feats
those?
that they went
have you
to-
seen those 15th century Gothic cathedrals?
Yes, those are
It's like
extremely
it's
detailed.
It's like you're telling me we can't build a fucking pyramid, but we can build that.
We can. We can
It's
build
like-
a pyramid.
Well, it's like there's no way. Have you seen a fucking cathedral, a Gothic cathedral? I believe we couldn't build that more than I believe we couldn't build a fucking triangle.
how do you how do you explain the Bass Pro Pyramid?
That's made of some
When the
glass and
aliens
some
come
brass.
down, all
It'll
they
knock
really
you on your
wanna
ass.
see-
Glass and brass that'll knock you on your ass.
Yeah.
It's a Bass Pro Shop.
Hey,
Doesn't every country
It's
have?
in Memphis,
Doesn't
Tennessee.
every city have a big ass
that's where
pyramid in
Martin
the
Luther King was
mud?
assassinated.
Connection?
Connection, Bass Pro Pyramid.
I was gonna mention that when you were talking about. I was like, I was gonna say, do you think he went to the Bass Pro Pyramid?
I don't think it was a thing yet.
Wasn't
I don't even think it was a
concept or something?
like
yeah.
a,
I'm not even sure if Bass Pro Shops existed in
But
because
yes.
before it was a Bass Pro Shop, it was like a stadium kind of thing.
Was it?
Yeah.
Bass
They
Pro
had
is just a.
concerts there and everything.
It's a cover up.
Just
Yeah,
wait,
but
wait.
I
You go. They're gonna find like a hieroglyph in one of the pyramids of like the Bass Pro like, logo. Like,
It has been written.
another thing that it's like people are like, yeah, there's no way we could have built a fucking triangle. It's like, yeah, we could have. Have you seen the Parthenon? That thing has survived so many earthquakes, so many attacks, and that bitch is still standing.
yeah.
Fucking Gothic cathedrals, Notre Dame,
I love the theory that at one point we were really advanced.
and we just kind of
And
nuked
we
ourselves to the
lost-
Stone
Evolved,
Age.
yeah.
Like one of the big things is when the Library of Alexandria was destroyed. Like we had so much knowledge and stuff in that library. It was like the library, and we lost all that knowledge.
It was a stupid thing to keep it all
I
centralized.
like the Tower of Babel. That's a funny one.
Oh yeah, just that one's more biblical. But
Yeah, but they're like, we
Hey,
built this
John.
tower to God, and God said,
He's an op.
nope, y'all can't understand each other now. And they went, what? And he looks over to his friend, and
You
the dude
know-
starts speaking a language he's never heard before.
one guy said what, another guy said "K."
Get it?
Huh? Okay, Ethan, we can move on to your conspiracy theory.
Okay. Project Artichoke, also referred to as Operation Artichoke, was a project developed and enacted by the United States Central Intelligence Agency for the
Artichoke
purpose of. Great, now I have to fucking restart.
No, you don't.
No, I don't.
Developed by the
Central Intelligence Agency for the purpose of researching methods of interrogation. Initially known as Project Bluebird, Project Artichoke officially arose on August 20th, 1951, and was operated by the CIA's Office of Scientific Intelligence. The primary goal of Project Artichoke was to determine whether a person could be involuntarily made to perform what could be Jesus Christ. The primary goal of Project Artichoke was to determine whether a person could be involuntarily made to perform an act of attempted assassination. There. The project also studied the effects of hypnosis, forced addiction, and oh my God. I can't fucking speak English.
It's okay. It's a day. It's fine. It's all right.
And subsequent withdrawal from morphine and other chemicals, including LSD, to produce amnesia and other vulnerable states in subjects. Project Artichoke was succeeded by Project MK Ultra, which began in 1953.
So it's like a
it was
precursor.
the precursor to MK Ultra.
It's like some Winter Soldier type
See,
shit.
you're not alone.
I'll mess something up in a minute.
Fucking
speak English.
I love the Winter Soldier.
Winter told you.
I love that what I told her.
Tell you
Now,
what, I do love some Winter Folgers.
keep in mind, this is in the middle of 1950s, so Project Paperclip also took place in the middle of the 1950s.
I do not know what that is. Sorry.
Which Project Paperclip, Ethan?
Do you pay attention in history? No, clearly not. Project Paperclip is the United States recruiting former Nazi scientists to build rockets for
Oh, yeah.
NASA.
I know that
I
one.
can build a
and
spaceship.
other
I can build a spaceship.
and
Yeah,
other
I know
projects.
Project Paperclip, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to berate you.
No, it's
I
fine.
feel bad now.
I'm very oblivious.
I'm
Like,
sorry,
I'm learning.
my school's history class didn't teach Project Paperclip.
Should have.
I fucking
My
love
history teacher was cool.
Ours was not.
Did you learn about that in school?
Yeah.
We didn't. We didn't learn
She-
about the
yeah,
cool
we
shit.
didn't.
She taught us about the massacres of Indians and all that.
Yeah, we were a public school. We weren't allowed to do that.
We don't do that here.
They just were like, yeah, this year JFK got shot. It's like, okay, no shit. But what about the cool stuff that happened in history?
Because JFK's assassination wasn't something cool that happened in history.
Like, why did Jackie Kennedy eat sheet metal? Like, why can't we ask those questions?
These are the real questions. Why aren't they being asked?
I don't get that joke. What's up with the fucking Jackie Kennedy eating sheet metal?
She looks like she eats sheet metal.
I think it's
That
just her-
means
Is it the way that her face looks? Is it, or is
Does
it
she have
her
fuck teeth?
Yeah.
Or does she have like goat teeth?
it's like her smile was like.
Oh,
here.
okay.
It looks like she could.
It's like Bruce from Finding Nemo
I
or something. Hello.
That smells good.
I'm
having
having
fish
fish
tonight.
tonight. This
Fish are
is
friends, not
Jackie
food.
Kennedy.
No, I know what she looks like.
Oh man.
She's ugly.
What?
Her eyes are like, wow.
She got them hammerhead eyes.
She's an
She's an amphibian.
It's like that one picture of Kagan.
Her eyes are pointing in different directions.
all the ladies want him.
Who are young college girls gonna sleep with if you like?
Who would you
pina
rather go out with,
colada?
Jackie Kennedy or Marilyn Monroe?
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, Marilyn all the way.
Yeah.
I don't think that was she no diffs Jackie Kennedy.
No wonder.
Did you have an answer, Ethan?
No wonder there was a theory of JFK, like, getting serviced.
Did you have
by
an
Marilyn
answer
on
to
the
that?
side.
To the question you just asked.
What was the question?
Marilyn Monroe or Jackie
I
Kennedy.
disregarded.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Marilyn Monroe or Jackie Kennedy.
The fuck just happened? You were the one that said it. Oh my god.
If I move on from a subject, I completely throw
It's
that
completely
information
gone.
out.
It's in the bin.
Yeah.
Damn.
I had to go back and rummage through.
Wait, what was it about?
Wait.
Huh? Wait.
I thought that was a genuine question. I was about to lose my fucking shit.
All right.
What was the question?
Hey, there's another one, Jackie. You got anything else on that one, Ethan?
No. That's all I
Ethan,
could
That's
find.
just a pre-order for MK Ultra.
All right.
Basically-
Gotcha. I want to do one about that.
What?
MK Ultra.
Oh.
MK Ultra is.
Here's another honorable mention. The Black Eyed Children. Have you guys
Oh, I
heard
like
this?
that one.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah, Black Eyed
Black.
Children.
That's my favorite band. I
Black
like
Eyed
their
Peas?
song.
No. Black Eyed. You don't understand. The Black Eyed Children.
I got a feeling.
The Black Eyed Children, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Their
Sorry.
overlord is Will I Am. They run the Black Eyed Peas.
And he sings, and he's telling him to go sing "Rock That Body."
Yeah.
Nah, double D's.
Double D's. But essentially, this was going to be one of my main theories to talk about, but I didn't find it interesting enough to keep it as a major one. So I just wanted to skim through it. I thought that it was interesting. No one really knows what the fuck they are. They people have encountered them here and there, and essentially they're just young children with pitch black eyes that ask kindly at first for adults to let them into their homes or their cars or whatever. Kind of like a vampire.
Yeah.
People think that they're aliens
I've heard
rather than demons.
I've
That's
heard
what I
theories
was
that they're
thinking.
spirits.
That too. Nothing conclusive though. These are just what ifs and.
Yeah, I've heard they're like ghosts, spirits, or aliens.
But
yeah.
one of the interesting things is they always seem to be in a hurry and plead to be let in to places as if they'll like disappoint like a higher being. So people are saying like who do they report to? They have like a do they have parents? Like who's at the top? You know what I'm
Jake,
saying?
we just said who they report to.
yeah.
Will
I know
Am.
it's Will. We think it's Will I Am, but
I mean, that's the only plausible
Could be
solution.
something
I can
far
think.
worse. Could be the
Could be something far worse.
Drake
Could be Adam
fucking-
Levine.
Like that's another thing, dude. Like what if like a demon reports to somebody else and they fuck up their mission or whatever? What is their punishment?
What am I
is a
gonna
demon's
get?
punishment?
What am I
dude?
gonna get? 10,000 more years in hell. I'm already stuck here for an eternity. What's that gonna do?
Yeah, that's interesting though.
yeah.
Like what? I mean, the sightings are few and far between, and they're always like
Do you
kids
have-
want to get into my home.
Do you have any information about what happens if you let them in?
Chaos. Chaos ensues if you let them in. There was one story where a family let these children in unknowingly because they were trying to be good citizens and help children in need. And they let them in, and a whole bunch of weird shit started happening. I mean, the husband's nose started bleeding. I think one of the family members got cancer like a day later, diagnosed with cancer a day later or something like that. Just all hell broke loose. But there's only like one or two stories of people actually letting them in. So,
I mean, if you saw a child with pitch black eyes, I'm like, maybe you should
well,
go that way.
supposedly they don't show their eyes at first. Like apparently it's like
They're, like, hidden.
like a switch or something. Because there's some stories where people will be talking to these kids and not notice them at first. But then again, they'll be like hypnotized. Like they'll feel compelled to let them into their home or whatever, not only because they're children, but because they feel like a force. Like, oh, I need to let this this kid in. You
thing
know?
inside my house.
And
These children.
it's kind of like their eyes are described as like pools, you know, like kind of hypnotic pools.
Like
Of darkness.
Of darkness.
Of
Yeah.
darkness.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, yeah, that was going to be one of my major ones, but I didn't find enough
Yeah.
intriguing evidence or stories, so I just wanted to bring it
That
up.
one's more of an urban legend, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 That one's I like that one. I've listened to many a podcast about shit like that.
I listened to a podcast called Morbid, and they had an episode about it, and it was very interesting.
I think
checked
that's
them
the
out.
same one I listened to.
Yeah.
It's morbid time.
It's Morbid time. That's what I got, though. Kagan, you got your last one, or
I was
Adam?
going to say, I thought you had, where's your main theory? Or are you saving
Oh, I'm
those?
going to save it after whoever goes next.
I was going to say, I can go next or you can go next. Adam, what are you going to do?
Go for it. You
All
have
right.
the floor, sir.
My last one is the Yuba County Five.
Heard of this
Yeah,
one.
I have heard of this one.
In February of 1978, a group of friends from Yuba City, California, were getting ready to travel to Chico, a town just an hour away, to watch their favorite college basketball team. The 5 young men hit the road, attending the game, and then mysteriously vanished on their way home. Their disappearance is one of the most baffling cases in the history of California. Even though these 5 men were between the ages of 24 and 32, their families, neighbors, and friends still called them the boys.
Oi, 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 Huey.
Oi, Yuri. All had so. One thing you do want to preface is that all of these boys, though they were not children, they had a mild form of disability in terms of they were not the smartest. So like there was one of them, I think I have it in here, but he was like really good at like labor and like manual labor and all that, but he lacked any semblance of common sense. There was one that he was like Ethan. He hated being outside. He liked to just sit and be alone.
I don't hate being outside. I
kidding.
just
He
And then
thinks the
there's-
sun
I love
he
outside.
thinks, he thinks the sun burns him,
Wasn't one of them like
which it does.
substantially more intelligent than
Yes.
the rest of them? So he was kind of like the ringleader.
I think his name is Jack Madruga.
Oh, I watched a Wendigo video about this.
Yeah.
One.
I
Wendigoon
will get
video.
to what happened to that. But they all had mild intellectual disabilities, but were perfectly healthy otherwise. So they just weren't the smartest. But other than that, they were just normal. The boys shared one particular interest, and that was basketball. They bonded at the Yuba City Vocational Rehabilitation Center, where they played basketball for the Gateway Gators. Theodore Weher, also known as Ted, was 32 and the oldest of the group. He was friendly and loved greeting strangers on the street. In February of 1978, Ted was unemployed but had worked as a janitor at one point, according to his family. Ted sometimes didn't understand the seriousness of certain situations. For instance, he told his brother to let him sleep while the family's house was on fire. The house was on fire and his brother came to wake him up and he said, "Leave me alone, I'm trying to sleep."
interesting.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He lacked any semblance of common
Self-preservation
sense.
and
Yeah. I lost. Jackie Hewitt, who was 24, was Ted's best friend. The young man relied on his parents since he couldn't read, write, or dial a phone. Luckily, Ted was always there for him to help with these things when Jackie was out of the house. Jack Madruga was 30 and was the only one of the group with a car and a driver's license. He was capable of taking care of himself and was fairly independent. Drac graduated from high school and even spent 2 years in the Army. Besides basketball, he was passionate about cars and adored his Mercury Montego. This car is an important thing in the story, so you're probably going to hear about it more than once. But it kind of plays a major component later on. Bill Sterling, who was 29, was Jack's best friend. He was cheerful and sometimes too trusting. For instance, Jack's mom made him quit his job as a dishwasher because his coworkers were stealing money from him. Finally, there was Gary Mathias, who didn't have an intellectual disability, but a mental disorder. Gary was 25 years old and was diagnosed with schizophrenia. The right combination of medications helped him keep everything under control for the last 2 years. So he was the only one that, like, disability-wise was normal, but he did have schizophrenia. So they gave him medication for that. And when he was on the medication, he was very friendly. He was a hard worker. But when he was off is when he became very ill-tempered.
Off his meds, you mean?
And violent, yeah. And he's also important to this story. because he was one of the only ones who was not an original member of the four. He came in last.
Yeah.
And that's why whatever happened to them, he's the biggest one to blame because he's like the newest member. Kind of like Micah in Red Dead. It's like, should we trust this guy because he's new? They're like, he's been with us for 6 months, and Arthur's like, yeah, but Dutch, he's a rat.
It's Micah.
He's a rat.
You know it. No, I know it.
Things weren't always so great, as he was discharged from the United States Army due to his medical problem and went through several difficult episodes in the past. On Monday, February 27th, the Yuba City Police Department received a call from a ranger who had worked at Plumas National Forest. He informed them that he had seen a car matching the description of the Mercury Montero. They were searching for the ranger. First, noticed the vehicle on Saturday by the forest road and didn't think twice about it because the area was a popular destination for cross-country skiing. After seeing the missing persons bulletin... Yes, Adam?
So a point that was missed here was that on their way back, they didn't come back.
Yeah.
Basically, they
went to their
and they were
game.
searching.
They went to their game, and then they came back, but the way they came back was... They didn't even go in the direction that was remotely close to where they were going, which is odd because Jack Madruga, the driver... He knew how to get there and back.
See, that's the thing, is they were expected back later that same night, and when they didn't come back, people got worried and a search was mounted. And this is where we get to the ranger discovering the car. That's the point that we missed, was that on their way back, they didn't show back up at home, so their parents got worried and a search was mounted, and it took a little bit, but eventually a ranger found the car in a national park. It kind of off the beaten path, out of the way of the path that they take home.
Yeah, I have that written down right here.
Yeah.
They recognized the vehicle immediately, called in. The following day, the police at the location said the car was found 70 miles northeast of Chico, which was not anywhere near where Yuba County was.
Sounds like he had a schizophrenic episode.
He's not the one that had the schizophrenia.
No.
Jack Madruga is the driver, and one thing it doesn't say on here, but he was very passionate about his car, and it was his baby. He wouldn't let anyone drive it except
And that
him.
was the car that they found.
Yeah. He was the only one that could drive, and he wouldn't let anyone else drive it. So, and he had gone this route before. So the fact that they found his car 70 miles southeast of Chico, the town they were going to, was bizarre because that wasn't the direction of Yuba County.
Yeah.
So they're like, what the fuck? What were they doing?
Yeah.
Fuck happened.
This discovery confused the officers because there was no logical explanation for why the group would make a trip up the mountain without any supplies or warm clothes. One day before their big basketball game, the car was stuck in the snow, but the 5 men could have pushed it out easily. The Mercury was unlocked, and one of the windows was rolled down. Jack's parents said that was odd because Jack always made sure to lock his car, and no keys were left in the vehicle. But empty food wrappers confirmed they headed towards Plumas National Forest. After stopping by Bear's Market, it's spelled B-H-R, Bear.
Yeah.
Several maps of California were neatly stacked in the glove compartment. Investigators thought that the Mercury broke down and the boys had to leave it by the road, but the officers hotwired the vehicle and the engine was completely fine. Furthermore, there was enough gas in the tank that the Mercury was taken back to the station. They had no issues with the car, so that's also why it's weird. Is it had plenty of gas? There's nothing wrong with the engine.
So basically, they found the car, undamaged, right? Nothing was wrong with
Undamaged.
the car, full of gas, and they were just gone.
Yeah,
the people were gone.
Keys were gone.
Yep.
Window was rolled down, which is weird because Jack always locked his car. He didn't just leave it like that.
Sounds like they were forced out.
Yeah. I gotta find where I lost track of where I was going. So the Mercury was taken back to the station, and further examination showed that the undercarriage was in pristine condition, which is almost impossible when riding on an unfamiliar bumpy mountain road. It suggested that whoever had driven the car knew the way, but Jack's parents had a different theory. Jack loved his Mercury Montero and was probably driving carefully at night. Suspected that the boys were somewhere close, law enforcement began searching for them on February 28th. But a snowstorm hit the area hours later, and the plans were canceled. I'm having like a...
It's all right.
Yeah.
Take your time.
They tried looking for them for the next 48 hours, but the weather on the mountains was so severe, so the search was eventually canceled. On June 4th, my birthday, 1978, a group of motorcyclists.
There's your answer right there.
Got knives
Hell's
and
Angels.
pitchforks.
Yeah, that's the answer right there. They were killed by motorcyclists.
A group of motorcyclists were riding on the trails in Plymouth National Park when they passed by the United States Forest Service trailer. The group saw a broken front window and the open main door to check what had happened. As soon as they stepped inside, the motorcyclists saw a body wrapped in the sheets of the bed. The USFC trailer was located almost 20 miles from where the Mercury Montero was abandoned. Since most of the snow had melted, law enforcement returned to the area and now had an easier task ahead of them. The body in the trailer was identified as Ted, and overall his appearance suggested that he was alive for up to 3 months after the disappearance. The bodies of Jack and Bill, the two best friends, were found 11 miles from that location. Their remains were scattered, but an autopsy confirmed they died of hypothermia. By then, Jackie Hewitt's father had joined the search despite the warnings of the police officers. Tragically, Jack's dad was the one who found his son's remains after noticing a familiar jacket in a bush. Jackie was located 2 miles from the trailer and also died of hypothermia. The search parties continued the search for Gary, but there was no sign of him. And that's all I got for that.
So all the bodies were found except for one?
Yeah. So a lot of people attribute that that Gary, the last guy, was the one that killed them or left them there to die because there's no sign of him. There's no any semblance of him being there.
He was also the one who had schizophrenia.
Yeah.
And he was also the one who was kind of more intelligent than the rest of them, so he was kind of the leader of their group.
So the one thing it doesn't mention in my notes, but I just remember off the top of my head, is that the trailer they were staying in had a generator with power, but when the police went to check it out, it was off. So, and no supplies had been used. There was food, there was plenty of stuff that they could have used to survive, but none of it was there. None of it had been taken or used, which was also odd. So, one theory is that Gary stayed with Ted because Ted fell ill because of hypothermia, while the others went to look for help. And when they never returned, Ted finally died. So Gary, as a last act of dignity, buried him by wrapping him in the sheets. And then he went out to look for them, but he was never found either. But that still doesn't make sense as to why they would abandon their car.
Yeah.
Because if there was nothing wrong with it and pretty much everything was pristine on it and they just got out and left, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I know that there were many theories of them being followed up onto the mountain.
Yeah.
A red truck.
Yeah, like a red beat up truck. One old man who was on the side of the road, who was also an unreliable source, but he said he saw a red truck following them, and a woman carrying a baby and 2 men got out of the truck, and then they got back in the truck and the boys took off. But I don't really think anything ever came of that either. But that one's also just a wild case of what happened to them. They
You
all
just don't have the in-between.
Yeah, you just don't have the in-between of, because it doesn't make sense, because yes, they were not intelligently the smartest, but they weren't brain dead. Mm-hmm. They could function to an extent, but they weren't. And a lot of the boys were not out. They did not like the outdoors. So for them to just take off into the woods.
Yeah.
One of them I'm pretty sure was deathly afraid of the outdoors, just being out in the woods.
That's what makes me think they were scared and trying to get away from something.
Yeah, but if that's the case, why get out of your car and run?
That's true.
Yeah,
And especially if it
weren't
had
really
gas.
smart either.
Especially if it had gas in it.
And one theory is that Gary, because I'm pretty sure they found a journal entry that Gary had, where over time, gradually, you see him
He starts to run out of his meds, so he's starting to slowly lose his grip.
on reality.
Yeah.
And that's why they think he killed Ted and them, is because his meds ran out and he had an episode.
But that's weird though, because those journal entries were probably made after they got out of the car, right?
Probably because
So he was
'cause it
presumably
said-
on his meds still when they got out of the car.
it said something about his body being found his body had been in there for 3 months, so they were there for a while.
Yeah.
So I say, I'm pretty sure the journal entries, the journal was found in the trailer
Yeah.
where they were staying, and that's where he had done like his recording and his, writing was in that trailer while they were trying to like survive and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so like as the days go by and he starts to run out of his meds, they just kind of become more and more unhinged.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. I think in Wendigoon's video where he covers this, he thought he mentioned a theory that they were playing some kind of elaborate game and it kind of just went awry. Like they were like, let's go to this place and,
I don't remember that.
I might be misremembering, but
I was gonna say I don't remember that, but it's such an odd case because
I agree.
you're dealing with people who they weren't the smartest, but they were also very cautious about things they did.
Even though they weren't very intelligent, they were still fairly capable.
Yes, they weren't they didn't need constant supervision. They
Especially
just weren't smart.
Some of them were adamant about not being outside.
Yeah.
They were going somewhere, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
So they went
so-
to a basketball game in
Yeah.
Chico, which is a town a little ways away. And they were coming back, but the car was found 70 miles southeast of Chico, which is almost in the opposite direction of Yuba County.
So it would make sense, like Adam said, if they were being followed, because like driving up that mountain definitely it couldn't have been part of their plan.
Yeah.
Unless
Because there was no reason for them to be
premeditated.
there unless
Yeah.
something happened.
Right.
I've heard a lot of theories, like of them being followed by some people, or them trying to they're young and them trying to get some drugs or something, and
Yeah.
the deal going awry.
One theory is that the red truck people knew Gary, and he was in. That's why they think he's involved. Is they theorize that the people that were following them were with Gary, and he had a
With or
plan,
wanted him.
he knew them,
Oh, okay.
and he was associated with them.
Gotcha.
There seems to be two running theories of the fact that either it was foul play
Yeah.
and it was Gary who kind of did all that, or it was I think both theories involve them being foul play, because there's really no reason for them to go up that mountain unless there was some external factor pushing them up the mountain.
It's like premeditated.
Yeah.
Both theories involve foul play, but one of them is Gary's at the center of it, and the other one's it was just unfortunate and some other people did it.
But the thing about it is they even state that their cause of death was hypothermia. So it's
Yeah, it's more like the foul play was more the reason that they had to go up the mountain was because they were trying to get away from somebody.
and I think they just succumbed to the elements because it happened when they bolted. It happened during a snowstorm, so
Yeah.
they might have found that cabin, but out of desperation, or they didn't realize that there was a generator to heat up the cabin or the trailer, whatever it is, and they had supplies in there. I guess they didn't realize, or they didn't think to check or something, and they ended up succumbing to hypothermia. So the boys, the three, went out to look for help, and Gary
lost?
stayed with Ted, because I guess Ted he succumbed to it first. So he was like, I'll stay back with them, and then after a while, Ted passes away of hypothermia.
So did you say the other two went out to try to
Other three.
They went out to try to look for
Yeah,
help?
that was the theories. That was one of the theories, is that
And they
they
probably
went out
got
to look
lost
for
and
help,
then
and they got
died.
lost.
I've heard that theory, and I've also heard a theory that the other three, on the way to, because they didn't know where they were going. They were just kind of blindly following a trail. They didn't know that there was a U.S. Forest Service trailer up there with supplies. They were just trying to find shelter or follow a trail to something. And one of the theories I heard was that the other three just on the way, they were in a pretty thick snowstorm, and they were trudging through pretty heavy snow, and that while they were walking, the other three either succumbed to the elements, or they kind of got separated and they just kind of collapsed in different places on the trail, or they lost sight of the people ahead of them and they started to deviate from the trail.
Veered off.
Yeah. I've heard that either they went out for help from the trailer, or on the way to the trailer, only Gary and Ted wound up making it, and then the other three just succumbed on the way.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very
Either way you put it,
depressing.
it's not.
But that's all my theories.
Those are good ones. Dude.
That one's probably one of my favorites. I love cases of people just disappearing with like.
Do you like the missing 411 cases?
Yes, I love those. But I like them disappearing, especially when it's so out of character for that person. It's like they had no reason to be.
Something's missing.
It's like they had no reason to be there, yet they were, and they already have this. It already gives you the notion that they were not outdoorsy. They did not like being outdoors, so it doesn't make any semblance of sense.
Yeah. I think your theories are really good, Kagan.
Thank you,
Hell yeah.
Adam.
I can go next.
Oh, you want to go next?
Yeah.
right.
I still have 2 more big ones.
Okay.
Ethan, do you want to go after me and give your last one?
Sure.
Okay. So the next one I have is the theory of bicameralism. Do you guys?
I don't know what
This
that
is another
I've heard of
thought
that.
experiment because I was really drawn to these.
Thought experiments are interesting.
Bicameral. I was afraid because they can be considered theories, conspiracy theories, but at the same time, it's also like
An experiment.
right. So, but it's interesting nonetheless. Bicameralism is a controversial hypothesis in psychology and neuroscience, which argues that the human mind once operated in a state in which cognitive functions were divided between one part of the brain, which appears to be speaking, and a second part which listens and obeys. Julian Jaynes proposed the idea of bicameral mentality in 1976 in his book, The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. And whenever I was researching this, I found a really good YouTube video by Nexus Voids. I don't know if you guys have heard of him.
I have not.
But I'm going to be paraphrasing some of the things that he said. But this theory also implies that gods are a part of the nervous system and compel us to make the decisions we make.
Ooh.
Yeah. So these gods would make themselves known through hallucinations, making a modern mental illness such as schizophrenia an advantage. Yeah.
See God.
So like people with schizophrenia would be have an advantage via the gods basically controlling humans to do their bidding, like, and make their ideal world through a mental illness.
Dude, that's fucked.
Yeah, it is fucked. And Jaynes describes that the brain functioned by 2 separate parts, one being the man, which is the left side, the follower, and the other being the god, which is the right side.
Yeah.
So the executive part of the mind is what he's saying. So I thought this was a really interesting theory because one, like, I'm not religious, but it's interesting to hear like a different perspective of how human minds used to work.
So like kind of like the origin of like left and right brain kind of stuff.
Right.
Like one half is you and follows the commands of the other half like unknowingly.
Yeah, and it's like it lends itself to the theory that we don't actually make our own decisions. We are not our own person, which I do not subscribe to, but
Yeah.
it is an interesting thought experiment to be like, that's how minds used to work potentially, and that also gives another light to like mental illness. And people that see things might actually see things, like they're
Might
actually
be real.
right. They're actually seeing like visions of a god
Yeah.
telling them
And that
what. Yeah.
people that are quote unquote
Kill that person and fuck the wound.
No.
people that are quote unquote normal are
Right.
actually at the disadvantage and they're not normal. The real normal ones are the ones with the mental.
Yeah. And like I said, I'm not religious and I don't subscribe to this theory, but it is an interesting thought experiment to think.
Yeah, I think
love-
it's a bit out of sorts. It seems just kind of like weird to think that, but it is interesting. But it's like I feel like it's a bit much.
I like anything psychological like that, dealing with how the brain works.
I do
Yeah.
too.
And that's why I was so drawn to
'Cause
these
it's so
things because
weird.
it's a different perspective.
Because we all have we all have a brain, and we think,
Yeah.
and we still just know
Kagan
very
doesn't.
little about how the brain actually
Kagan
works.
doesn't.
That's the
Ain't a
thing.
thought behind
It's
that
like it's in our head, and we use it every day, but we still have like a very basic idea of how it actually works.
Right.
Like we just haven't been able to like no pun intended,
pin it down.
untangle it.
Yeah. And Kagan, I agree. It is a bit like it's a lot.
Much. It's a bit much.
but it's
interesting.
It's interesting.
It's an
especially
interesting-
if your mind is open and you're like, huh.
It's an interesting concept that God's created like diseases like that, hallucinogenic diseases, so that you could perhaps see their message or whatever.
It's kind of similar to like the theory that HIV is like a man-made thing, you know.
Didn't
Yeah.
we get
government-
HIV because a dude fucked a monkey? Or is that AIDS?
I think it's AIDS.
HIV is just isn't HIV just AIDS? It's like the beginning stages of AIDS.
Yeah.
Like once you have HIV, and then later it eventually compromises your immune system enough to become AIDS.
I was
Like,
gonna say, well, if it was caused by a man fucking a monkey, then it is human made because he didn't have to do that. He chose to do that.
The god that
The god
he
told him to,
worshipped
yeah.
told him to.
yeah, see Kagan over here saying that this theory is like a bit far out, and I don't believe that shit. That's the
Right.
God trying to cover it up.
Yeah.
What are you talking about, guys? I swear.
Good child, good. Say the
Good.
other thing.
Say the other thing. Lie.
But bicameralism is very fucking interesting to me.
Yeah.
For sure.
An interesting concept for sure.
Yeah. You do not seem into it.
No, I do. I do think it's very interesting how, like, because I could see it because, schizophrenia is a very weird disease.
Yeah.
That was Gary Mathias's God telling him to get them stranded
And
in the woods.
He was like, do it.
definitely
Make them get lost.
Like, if you're not into any of the theories that we're talking about, you three, I mean, definitely say, like, yeah.
I mean, if I don't like the theory, I'm not going to rag on you about it. I'm going to listen to it and hear you out.
Yeah.
No. Shut the fuck up. Nobody cares.
And I'll provide my
Your 2 cents.
yeah, my 2 cents on it. But I'm not going to be like, that's a stupid theory.
Yeah, I just asked you to be respectful.
Out here, like, here's my 2 cents. Don't spend it all in one place.
Ethan, you have one more,
My turn.
Your thorn.
and then
Tell us
Kagan's done.
All
I'll
right.
go after you, Ethan, and then
I'll
Adam
close us
can
out.
close us out. Yeah.
I'm tired all of a sudden.
Tired? The
Okay.
EP hit you.
Tell us about it.
Man, recording 2 episodes back to back is really draining on my balls.
True. I've been straight edging over here for the last, 2 hours.
Dude, what the fuck? Project MK Ultra was an illegal human experiments program designed and undertaken by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency.
So
The
you
CIA is notorious for doing very immoral things on human beings for the sake of amusement.
So here's my thought on that. You said Project Artichoke was like the precursor.
It's the precursor.
So it's literally the beta, and then
It's like the test.
MK
trial.
Ultra's full release.
Yeah.
MK Ultra is the full game.
Yeah, it's the patch notes. It's the full game. Yeah.
Since the CIA developed procedures to identify.
Yo,
Hang
who?
on. Okay. One second. The CIA. I screwed that sentence up.
God, these fucking CIA guys, man.
Nice try, Fed.
Okay, the CIA used drugs to weaken people during interrogation and force confessions through brainwashing and psychological torture. It began in 1953 and was halted in 1973. Sure, I don't believe that.
Sure, buddy. Okay.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Whatever you say.
Listen, the
It
government
used-
would never
Whatever
lie
you
to
say,
us 'cause
bro.
that's wrong. That is morally wrong. The government would never lie to us. I believe everything they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime you think
They're never
the
wrong.
government wouldn't do that,
Oh,
would.
yes, they would.
MK Ultra used numerous methods to manipulate its subjects' mental states and brain functions, such as covert administration of high doses of psychoactive drugs, especially LSD, and other chemicals without subjects' consent. Electroshocks, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal and sexual abuse, and other forms of torture.
Ugh.
There is a theory out there that the Unabomber took part in these experiments when he was at university or whatever. Declassified MK Ultra documents. MK Ultra was preceded by Project Artichoke. It was organized through. You've already heard that.
I forget. Did we talk about Project Artichoke? Was that
That was his first
part
one.
one?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that was the one we opened with.
The program engaged in illegal activities, including the use of U.S. and Canadian citizens as unwitting test subjects. MK Ultra's scope was broad, with activities carried out under the guise of research at more than 80 institutions aside from the military, including colleges, universities, hospitals, prisons, pharmaceutical companies, and that's it. The CIA operated using front organizations, although some top officials at these institutions were aware of the CIA's involvement. MK Ultra was revealed to the public in 1975 by the Church Committee of the United States Congress and Gerald Ford's United States President's Commission on CIA Activities within the U.S., the Rockefeller Commission.
The Rockefellers.
Investigative efforts were hampered by CIA Director Richard Helms' orders that all MKUltra files be destroyed in 1973. The Church Committee and Rockefeller Commission investigations relied on the sworn testimony of direct participants and on the small number of documents that survived Helms' order. In 1977, a Freedom of Information Act request uncovered a cache of 20,000 documents relating to MKUltra, which led to Senate hearings. Some surviving information about MKUltra was declassified in 2001. And that's all I have on it.
Jake, hit us with
Yeah.
your theory, boy.
Okay, this is my last one. Adam has one more to close us out afterwards. But this is the the Billywhack legend / theory.
I don't know what that is.
You keep bringing theories that I've never heard of.
That's good. That was
Yeah.
the intention here. Yeah, I know. I do feel like some of mine were a little less interesting than
No.
what everybody
Well,
else
you
had.
like the more thought experiments. I like
Yeah.
the more unsolved
I love
cases. And
I love
theories.
both, but I wanted to make sure that we had a good mix,
Yeah.
and I think that's what we've ended up with.
Because if
here.
they were all just like, well, these people died, and we don't know how.
Right. I mean,
It
that is
gets
interesting.
stale.
That is
The
interesting on
things
its own.
that probably us three have talked about have been done
Talked
over
about.
so many times. It's a little oversaturated. But
But
what
it's also-
you bring to the table is new.
Well, thank you.
All right, Jake, I'm ready.
All right, so this is called the Billywhack legend / theory.
Oh,
In the 1960s, this theory really gained traction. So it also takes place in Southern California. So
Of course.
Everything's
Yeah.
in fucking California.
And it
It's
takes
the coun-
place-
the state of freaks.
it takes place. What?
I said California's the state of freaks.
Well, so in Southern California, there is a dairy called the Billywhack Dairy, and
Okay.
it's during this time it was used as a breeding farm as well as a dairy.
So you mean like it's a place that makes dairy?
Yeah,
Okay, I
Yeah.
was like,
like
just
milk
saying it was a
and-
dairy. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's just a
A dairy farm?
Just a dairy farm, yeah.
Okay.
And at the time, it was owned by someone named August Rebel.
That's
He was
a
a
sick
cool
name.
fucking name.
Yeah, he was a former member of the OSS.
Oh.
Yeah, which is the Office of Strategic Services.
Isn't that the
now
precursor
it's
to
the
the
precursor.
CIA?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah.
precursor to the CIA. What
Yeah.
it is today. So there are many. There's a lot of backstory to this, but I am just gonna kind of cut straight through.
Yeah.
The theory is that underneath the dairy, or they had a tunnel system, and the theory goes that super soldiers were made below the dairy,
Hell yeah.
I thought-
and to combat the Nazis' idea of making super soldiers. So this was kind of the U.S.'s way to get back at them.
Yeah.
you know,
Jake-
which
Jake,
I like.
For a
What?
split second, I thought you were going to talk about the cheese tunnels.
I don't know what that is, but I would love to talk about it first afterwards. Okay, I would like to talk about that. I don't know what it is.
This was
But
not even a theory. It's just factual information.
This is the theory that super soldiers were made underneath the dairy, and the legend part of it. What are you guys doing with your foot?
Creating super soldiers with milk. Yeah, no wonder. That's why I drink it.
The legend part of it was one of these experiments got out, and it was a half man, half goat hybrid. And he would walk around South California, and he'd have a huge club, and he wouldn't hurt anybody. There were no reports of him hurting anybody.
I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to cave your skull in.
I mean, maybe like a few fender benders on a car, you know, just be like, you just bang my car up a little bit. I saw it. I swear.
And he just runs with, bah.
Yeah. So, like I said, there are tunnels underneath the dairy. That's not a theory. There are tunnels. And this is said to be where the beast roams, the Billywhack beast or monster. So,
Dude.
yes, Adam.
That dude's the goat.
He really is, man. Half goat, half man.
Goat man.
And like I said, Rebel was said to have made the beast for the U.S. as a countermeasure for the Nazis, making super soldiers.
Interesting.
If they just equipped him with a club, he must be a fucking unit.
Right. And these sightings were mostly ever reported by teenagers, very rarely from adults, which is
Interesting.
strange.
Yeah.
You know, But there are a couple of side stories that I thought were particularly funny because this dairy has become a hotspot for teenagers specifically to go and try to peep out, and try to hunt the beast, and try to make a name for themselves. They hear this legend and they're like, we gotta go kill this beast.
It turns out it's a local farmer.
We gotta
that
go kill him.
Owns the land.
So one report said that a kid with a sword was detained for trying to hunt the beast.
A sword?
Hell
Yes,
yeah.
he
That's
showed up
something
on the
you
property
do.
and he got detained and he had a sword in hand, stating that he was trying to hunt and kill or slay the beast. So
Goat man.
I thought that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty funny. And then another story is of a woman named I think her name was Dorothy Renteria. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. But she fended off 43 teenagers with a shotgun until police arrived on the scene. 43. She didn't kill any of them. She didn't even shoot a shot.
Hey,
but
shit
it's
ass.
just kind of like she threatened 20 or 43 kids and fended them off until police
It's like,
arrived.
all
on
right,
the
guys,
scene.
I've only got 8 shells. Can you guys stand really close together?
Was it like a school field trip or something?
No, it was just a group of, I don't know
Duck
if it was
season.
like
43?
yeah, I don't know if it was like a frat party or whatever, but they showed up. By the way, Dorothy, this woman lives adjacent to the dairy,
Yeah.
so she saw all these kids, all these hoodlums coming up, and she was like, "Get the fuck off my
She
lawn!"
probably
you
fucking
know?
Billy Whack. That's all I gotta say.
She's
Billy Whack's her husband.
she's the true legend. She's the true
She's a
legend.
CIA operative.
Yeah. But more than 250 young people were arrested for trying to hunt this beast. You'd think they'd learn.
Yeah.
You boys,
Turns out the government moved the facility somewhere else.
Yeah.
Area 52 or
funny.
some shit.
Yeah, and my
boys wanna
my
go hunt
sources, whenever I was researching, I found a podcast called the California True Crime Podcast.
Ooh.
They're pretty interesting. They're very knowledgeable. And that's the first episode I've ever heard from them, but I give them a look.
I may have to look them up.
And also bbc.com.
Ooh.
Yeah.
my
Big black
favorite porno
cock.
site.
You know what that means. Yeah.
So,
Fish.
I was talking about
Fish.
I was talking about the cheese tunnels.
Yeah.
And this happened around the time where the got milk came from. Basically, the government and the dairy farms, like Highland Dairy Farms, were making way too much milk. Like they had way too much of it, so they started making it into cheese because cheese lasts longer than milk does. But then they had the problem of they had too much cheese. So there's literally these limestone tunnels underground that they store this cheese in because it's like the perfect temperature. And it's like millions of billions of pounds of cheese.
Why? Why not just like,
Why?
export it out of the States or something?
I think it was a cost thing. It would cost way too much money.
Okay, but you're just piling up
Cheese!
Cheese!
Cheese,
It's gonna
grommet!
sit there.
Cheese grommet.
I think it's kind of like diamonds. How, diamonds, they say they're worth a lot, but they're really not worth shit.
Humanity's gonna nuke themselves to oblivion, and the survivors
so
are gonna be like, "What the? fuck
like
is this place?"
there's a documentary about like the blood diamond trade, and they're like diamonds aren't really that expensive. The reason they're so expensive is because there's people that let out only a certain amount at a time, but they have so many diamonds just in stock that it's just, but they release them out because if they release so few out, their value becomes higher. So it's kind of similar to that with the cheese. It's like, well, if we release it, it's going to be not worth
Price of
anything.
cheese. The cheese economy is going to
The
go into
cheese
the toilet.
economy.
Because milk is a very profitable business. I don't know if you know that. Cheese, milk, dairy itself is very
It's a
profitable.
very dairying business.
I
That's
lost
funny.
brain
I do
cells.
have
a very daring prospect.
I have one other honorable mention before Adam gives us his last one.
You
And this
boys,
is just like a.
You guys want to go on a company field trip to hunt the Billy Whack beast?
I do.
We'll write it off.
I
as
want
a-
to meet Dorothy.
We'll write it off as a business expense. Be like, hey, you're my hero. Can I get like an autograph?
Dorothy,
Could you
you're
shoot
my
this
hero.
piece of paper with your shotgun?
But the last one that I have is the idea of catastrophism. Have you guys heard of that one?
No.
No. It's the idea that the world is formed through catastrophes. So, tectonic plates and shit
Yeah.
shifting and avalanches, hurricanes,
Pangea and all
everything like that. Yeah. It's just the idea that the Earth is formed through catastrophes. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm looking for my
The continents are actually like moving.
pin cap or the eraser cap.
Are you talking about like tectonic plates moving and shit?
Just an example of,
Oh, okay.
just any kind of catastrophe
Oh, okay.
Whether they
would
be
form the world.
weather related, tectonic related, just anything.
Which I think is an interesting theory because, yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah.
You cannot prevent a catastrophe, like a natural catastrophe, just
It's
fucking
gonna
happens.
happen, yeah.
Right. And whether you want it to or not, it deforms or forms land masses and things that,
Buries islands.
Right.
Uncovers islands.
interesting.
Very interesting.
Nice.
I can definitely tell that some of mine are like, probably would have been better in a different episode because
My thing is, I can't provide much input because I don't really know much about them. Like the 3 I did, I've heard these stories. So
what I'm
many
telling you
times.
is the extent of my knowledge when it comes to these honorable mentions.
I know.
So-
I just don't really have I can't really form an opinion on it based off of certain things. It's like
yeah,
you say it and I'm listening, but I don't really know how to respond.
I got you. Different strokes for different folks. It was interesting though, I thought.
Yeah.
I do
Adam.
like the Billy Whack one, dude.
Billy Ackman.
That one's funny.
Yeah.
Imagine you're in the trenches in World War II and you hear this fucking distance and you look over, you peek over and you see this 7-foot tall goat man with a club just
Running
hauling
at the
ass
front
towards
lines.
you.
He's very patriotic.
He's just hitting them with the.
yeah.
And he hits
And they
your
have those,
friend
like-
Klaus across the head and his head.
Klaus.
Holy shit!
He's just looking at you with those fucking.
Oh mein Gott!
Oh mein Gott!
Oh mein Gott!
Goatsman!
The Goatsman!
The Goatsman!
The Goatsman! He's killed Klaus!
And he's
With
just,
the club!
the whole time he's just staring into your soul with those fucking rectangular pupils.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting though because I haven't heard of like a countermeasure for Nazi
Goat
super
man.
soldiers. That is the
I'll
U.S.'s
do you
answer.
one better.
Yeah.
No,
Goat
there's
man
a
with
counter.
club.
Goat man.
There's a countermeasure for Nazis. It's trenches and shotguns with mustard
no.
gas.
I just mean like
That's what
the
World
super
War
soldier equivalent
It worked.
in
The
the
Nazis
U.S.
weren't a thing then.
I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's more theories about different super soldiers in the U.S. Yes.
Counterpoint: Captain America.
Yeah. See.
MK Ultra did have a bit of a subsection where they were trying to teach people to lift things with their minds. It's actually kind of what inspired Stranger Things.
Oh hell yeah.
Also, Project Montauk was part of that as well.
Is MK Ultra is that in the Stranger Things universe or is it renamed something? What is it?
I don't know what they named it in
It's-
the Stranger Things universe.
I think it's MK Ultra. Or
It's
something
not.
Like that. What?
I don't remember what it's called. I know it's not MK Ultra. I was gonna say Project Stargate, but that's something completely different.
Yeah.
That was with the CIA trying to open up literal portals through time.
Yeah, that's what it is. I can't.
Imagine if they had successfully done that.
That'd be cool.
Would it?
Yeah.
Do you think the United States would rule the world?
Yes.
It is.
It's the KGB
We don't like We don't like a.
and Stranger Things KGB.
We don't like a certain state. We just form 2 portals and use them as like a magnet to rip the place
You'd
apart.
make a great military general.
Listen, hear me out. The rest of the world, it is our manifest destiny.
We were born to inherit planet Earth.
Yes.
Yes.
Just create a giant portal right in the center of like the country we don't like, and just watch it get sucked in, just like a black hole.
It's like the black hole that Adam was talking about in the first episode.
With
If
the
that
white
happens,
drunk
they
light.
go first.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how it happens because I think we're all
I
dead.
think it's just
then.
instant.
Yeah, all of us at once.
Yeah.
We're in it together.
All right, Adam, hit us with your last theory.
What you got?
Diego.
Look at that calf meat.
Ugh.
Look at it. Look at it. Yeah.
Slightly hear it in the background.
He's like wobble wobble.
This
wobble.
last one is more. It's not as serious. This is like a nice, palate cleanser to close
Yeah.
this out. So, have y'all ever heard of New Coke?
No.
New coat. Yes.
Yes.
You both heard of New Coke?
Yes.
Have you heard of
This
New
is a
Coke?
joke.
No.
I've never heard of New
So
Coke.
basically, back in the 80s, like 1984 or 1985, Coca-Cola, they did away with their classic formula for Coca-Cola and made something called New Coke. He was supposed to take the place of Coca-Cola. And they released it, and everyone fucking hated it. Everyone despised it with a burning passion.
Wow, this is awful.
And so what happened was they went back to the quote-unquote original formula, and things were all well and good. Coca-Cola was back. But the theory is that the company, what they did was they intentionally, this was all a marketing ploy, and they changed the recipe to this new Coke recipe, knowing that everybody would hate it, and basically left it out there to give themselves for two reasons. One, so that whenever they went back to the old formula, it would spike their sales, which it did. Coke stock went through the roof after they went back to the original formula. And two, they wanted to, basically it was pretty expensive to make Coca-Cola, the original recipe. So they switched to this new Coke that they knew everybody would hate and let them kind of get used to that flavor and kind of forget about what Coke tasted like, so that they could completely redo the formula with a lot cheaper and shittier ingredients. And after people had forgotten about what Coke tasted like, they switched back to the original flavor, and everyone had already forgotten. So they were like, "Oh, thank God," because it was better than new Coke, but it was made with cheaper ingredients than original Coke.
Interesting.
So the whole premise is that they created new Coke specifically,
Self-sabotage.
to one, bolster their sales whenever they went back to the quote-unquote original recipe, and two, be able to change the original recipe so it's not as expensive to make and is full of shittier ingredients.
I don't even like Coke, so
So that
I like Mexican Coke.
That's
but
the theory. But when pressed on whether this whole new Coke debacle had been an elaborate plan to sell more Coke in the long run, which it did, the Coke executives said, "We are not that dumb and we are not that smart."
We're just all right.
Yeah.
We're somewhere in the middle.
Basically, Coke is just saying, like, no, we just kind of fucked up. That's about it. But, the running theory is that Coke did it on purpose to, one, sell more Coke, and two, be able to change to a shittier recipe without anybody noticing.
It's like, no, we just thought we'd try something different. People didn't like it, so we're like, okay, back to what we're used to.
If you did that, you'd have to wait for all the old Coke, like the classic formula, to go out of circulation in the economy.
Yep.
And then you'd have to replace that with the new shitty formula, and then let everyone get used to that, and that takes time.
Yeah.
So usually, after that amount of time, the stock isn't probably that good.
This was also in the 80s, so I don't know how different it is from today in terms of stock rotation.
The company was like, try this. And society was like, no. And then they were like,
you.
okay, let's backtrack. How about this? It's okay. It's just fine.
But yep, that is new Coke.
Boo.
Did you say boo?
Boo.
Oh, that was a great one to end off on. It was lighthearted.
It was.
Lighthearted.
Ethan just wants to hate the government.
I do. I just fucking despise the
Ethan,
state.
was this episode or these episodes everything you thought they would be? Yeah.
I mean, there are so many conspiracy theories
Right.
out there, and we just covered 12. Like, that's nothing. And how
No,
many
it's not. It's
conspiracy
like a drop
theories
in the
there are.
bucket. Yeah.
There's so many.
But in
Like,
seriousness, to answer your question, yes, I enjoyed this episode.
yeah,
Hell yeah.
and we could probably do more. Like, there's
I agree.
so many.
That's the beauty of these things. Like, we can always go back and do like a part 3, part whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever. As long as we're feeling it and we want to talk about these things.
Yep.
That's the way I see it.
I enjoyed it.
I did too. It was awesome. Kagan can't get, well, he'll probably give his, he did this the last episode too. He'll give his 2 cents whenever he gets back. But I thought it was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm over here creaming my genies.
Your genies,
Yeah, my genies be creaming.
Now I want to go hunt ghosts.
they be creaming.
You want to hunt ghosts later tonight?
Sure.
Where at?
Here.
Yeah.
Oh, in this apartment complex?
On your computer.
It's called porn.
Phasmophobia?
What?
Phasmophobia?
Oh!
I mean, I would really like to go somewhere and try and find
I
a ghost,
didn't-
but
Yeah.
like a graveyard.
I
or
thought
some
you were
shit.
like fighting ghosts, like fighting your demons of watching shit on your computer. That okay. Kagan's back.
Kagan, what'd you think of the episode?
Episode.
I had a good time.
You seem drained. Are you okay?
I
just
drained my bladder.
He just went.
I drained my asshole.
Yeah, I drained my bladder. I had a
he
tinkle.
He went and rubbed one out in the bathroom.
I
real quick.
wish.
Don't say that. Old ladies say that. Tinkle.
I had to take a tinky wink.
Dorothy wouldn't say that. She'd say, "I
had to
took
take
a
a
fat
tinkle."
piss."
I just
I took
sprayed
a
some.
fat piss.
She
That's what
she
she'd
said
say.
I just sprayed some buckshot.
Yeah, she would.
Hey, bros, you want to go home and masturbate? Don't come in my room without knocking. I might be rubbing one in.
Rubbing one in. Kagan, we were talking about how we could always do like a part 3 of conspiracy theories, and like I said,
Yes, we could.
At the beginning of the last episode, is if the listeners have any specific theories that they want us to cover, we can definitely do that, and further detail.
I don't like doing what the listeners want.
Yeah, but we have to bend the knee sometimes.
I'd rather just be like, we saw your comment. We thought it was interesting,
Yeah,
but also we hate you.
We appreciate it, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. we
Also,
appreciate
give us
you,
money.
But also, your opinion is irrelevant to me. So
As I always say, opinions are fine and great, but when they're,
Shite.
when they're shit, they're not. Adam, you got to plug us.
gotta plug us.
Got to plug.
Well, like I said
Plug,
last time, so if you want to listen to us, this episode, it is uploaded on. You're either listening to it on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast. If you're not on one of those, then you're listening to pirated content. So I'd say move to one of those 3 platforms. And 2, we're on socials. We're socialists. No, I'm just, we are on Instagram, X, Twitter, and TikTok.
the other thing, yeah.
that one.
Talk tick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
TikTok.
go check out our stuff on there. We put little short clips of like what we think are the funniest bits on those platforms. Ethan absolutely cooks with them.
I try my best.
They're pretty awesome. So if you if you don't
Agreed.
feel like listening to a whole episode without knowing what you're getting into, I'd say go listen to those because they're pretty fucking rad.
They're a good indicator of what's in store.
Yeah,
For
so
sure.
Just peep us out on our socials and listen to us on those 3 platforms. And like I said, if you're listening to us on Vimeo, get the fuck off Vimeo. Who uses Vimeo?
What is Vimeo?
It's a shitty video platform that some people use as an alternative.
It's a
to
whole
YouTube.
other conspiracy, Ethan. You want to hear about it?
Oh, not really, no.
All right. Buckle up.
Get the fuck off Vimeo. Who uses Vimeo, you monster? Anyway, I think that's it.
That'll be
Yeah.
it. That'll do, pig.
See you in the next one.
Adios.
Adios. Bye bye.